Oh, hello, hello, hello. It is your friendly neighborhood lobster bird here with my dear Vidya. And we're here today because we want to invite you to something really special that we're both a part of. And that is this kind of epic, radical healing, coaching, like journey that I'm doing called Be the Embodiment of Wealth. And so I've been running this since last year. We're in one right now. It is just like so beautiful. This container, the humans in it, everything that's happening for people and the whole journey. I got this message from the spirit of my business to do a flash sale. So if this is something you would love to do, like now is the time. And you know, the thing I come up against, which if you're a coach, an entrepreneur or something, let me know if you've ever experienced this. It's kind of hard to talk about what you do, but especially like if it's straight up magic. You know, how do you talk about magic? I don't know. I've been trying for years. And so, you know, I was just like, hey, Vidya, so prolific, so expressive. Like, can you tell me what is Be the Embodiment of Wealth? And why is it so amazing?
All right, that's my cue. Uh, but you said something very interesting because I call myself I call myself transformation doula. I began as a adventure guide, certified life coach, all of those things, and it's very, very, when we address it from the sort of spirituality space, and I really wanted to bring that element in. It's the spirituality consciousness space, and they're two different energies, in my opinion. However, it's very hard to talk about how life-changing that work can be because it's not tangible. It's not practical. It's not here in sort of this mundane everyday life that we lead. And so I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about why I jumped in, right? Because this is a journey. You and I have been on this journey for years and years and years and years and years, right? Like I'm in my mid-50s. I've been doing it all my adult life. I grew up with this journey in my face, and still I found value in it. For me, one was the title, Be the Embodiment of Wealth. We're not talking money here, people. Money is a part of it, but we're not talking, oh, how can I, make a six-figure business happen? This is not business coaching. We're not talking about that at all. So let's make that very clear, right? We are talking about embodying wealth through the businesses we run, the lives we live. Experience and do comes last, right? This container to me is about, I coined the aphorism in 2018, and it was lead with your heart, feed your soul, use your mind. And that's really what this container is about to me. And I'll bring in the somatic element because I know one huge part of yourself, because being is not just in the spiritual consciousness, all of the consciousness spirituality guys say this, you have to act as though it is already here, but that's what we mean by be the embodiment of wealth. It's about acting as if we are already the wealthiest people we can possibly be in our own potential. That does not mean that Lobsterbird and I are telling you to go run out credit card debt and spend on anything crazy and things like that either. That's not the point here. I do want to make that clear. We're not talking about that. We're talking about wealth holistically. For example, it has taken us 30 minutes to get this video going, right? Yet here we are talking about this, things lined up. That's wealth. It is getting into that space, that energy in our bodies, in recognizing that one can be in a teeny tiny 1-bedroom apartment, and that is wealth. One can be in a marvelous 2200. I mean, look at her backdrop. It's gorgeous. Look at that wood. I'm like, ooh, that is so pretty. That is wealth. We all have our manifestations of wealth. So this container to me is really about attuning into the wealth that all exists in our life. Man, if you're eating, drinking, feeling, having, doing, no matter what you're doing, pooping, peeing, all of it, you're wealthy. You're wealthy because your life is still filled with so much potential, so much opportunity that can come your way. So be the embodiment of wealth begins with look at the wealth that already exists within you, in your physical form, in your everyday life, in your business, all of it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Of course, there's like a million threads I want to go with. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being that embodiment. And yeah, so it's like you're saying, it's like acknowledging what's already there. And then including that is like our own personal resources, our own inner wisdom, right? Our own resources that we have in order to really be in the wealth that we already have, and then to amplify that, to expand that, right? And that's going to be so different for everybody, you know, in the ways that we do that. And one other thing I just want to mention in what you're saying too is that, you know, like in the modern understanding, like even from 10 years ago, it's a little different, right? Of manifestation is like, you can't just think your way into a different situation. You can't even like visualize your way, because everything that we experience happens in our bodies, right? So unless we're experiencing it in a really visceral way, which is the work that we're doing, the somatic embodiment work, this is like you said, we've been on this path for a really long time. We've done all the spiritual stuff, right? We've done all the things. And like the moment is now for us to like really get it rooted deep in our body. So we are living that vibration, right? That calls in whatever other, just like those, that one opportunity that changes everything, right? For example. And so, yeah, like that, I guess that was like my one other question for you is like, you know, you have been doing this work for a long time. I know you've worked with like a bunch of people in a bunch of different contexts. And so what about this is different, or is there anything else that you feel like is special about this journey that we're on together?
I think one big thing for me is exactly that, the somatic part. You know me, well, for those who don't know me, I'm a Pisces sun with, you know, a Virgo rising and a Capricorn moon. So I do have in my tropical natal chart, I have both, so earthly space and the spiritual space, but I'm a Pisces sun. I live up there all the time. And in the last few years, especially, it has been a lesson of exactly that. Go down. That, as you were saying the word, I kept hearing this for about a couple of years now. Convergence, convergence, convergence. You know, it is about consciously again embodying as much as we can, because we all are human and we have our human moments in our everyday moments, in our everyday lives. The awareness and operating from the awareness that we are divine beings on a human adventure. That divinity, that innate wisdom, that embodied wisdom, it's embodied wisdom. It lives in our cells. It lives in our memories. It lives in this human form. And so it's about enabling this human form and it's about, oh, I heard this phrase yesterday. It was in one of my law of attraction cards. If you're familiar with the law of attraction, you know how this works. You know how that vibrational match has to happen in your human self, along with your spiritual, conscious, embodied, cosmic, whatever you want to call it, self, right? Radical acceptance of reality. I do feel also, and I'm gonna caveat this as this is personal opinion. We've also been in a space in the last few years of bypassing reality because of the inner work. It's been compartmentalized. Let me put it that way, right? There's the inner work and then there's real life. There's inner work and there's real life. And what's magical and beautiful about this container, as we have these conversations, as we have been going through this journey in this group as a collective, I, at least, am seeing that convergence begin to happen. I'm thinking, oh, I'm experiencing this over here. And oh, look, that person over there in Patagonia, Chile, who is one of the members in this container, is experiencing it too, in a completely different time zone, completely different equatorial zone, you know, like if she's in the southern hemisphere. That's the magic. You begin to connect. You begin to see, like, you know, that we are part of the force, you know, we are one with the force and the force is one with us. We are all Jedi Knights and Siths too, because the dark and the light exist together. That is radical acceptance of realities, understanding that we are here. We are meat suits, or somebody called it a skin bag, and somebody called me a skin hag. What a hag, what a bodies, what a hags, whatever you are, whatever the term. We are here to be guided by that embodied wisdom, and then to take action from that space. And how could we possibly ever do that? How could we become the embodiments of wealth across the board, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, sensual, material, monetary, if we are not attuned to our bodies, to this human experience, to this human reality? So this container for me was absolutely, I was guided to it, I know, to experience that convergence, to bring that convergence to fruition. And I also wanted to point out one more thing you said. It is individual to each person. Every person's journey in this is unique. We have collective themes and threads that show up, but some people will call in money, some people will call in opportunities, some people will call in people who can help them build in money. Everybody's journey is individuated. So the other thing I'm experiencing over here is there is no comparison. Nobody's saying, oh, but I'm experiencing this and you are not. And if we are, then we're keeping it inside our heads. We're not sharing it. That energy in this container. We are all celebrating each other wherever we are and enjoying these awarenesses and attunements as they show up. And I think that's another magic of this container. It really is special for me. And I've been in many, many, many containers. There's an intimacy to this that I've not experienced in many others.
I love that. Yeah. And just to say that, I think it's like you were saying before, like this can seem really abstract, but this is a very tangible thing and a very tangible kind of skill that we need to be developing as human beings, is to be able to be soul sovereign, individuated humans in community, in collective, experiencing that convergence that you were talking about, and being able to do it and cultivate safe spaces, right? Where we're able to show up in our authenticity, in our own soul wisdom, right? That's the reason that we can't, is because we haven't had the, environments and other people, that are doing that work together. And so to me, like you hit on one of the greatest points, is that like, we're not doing this because we want more money so we can like buy a Lamborghini or like whatever, right? Everyone in here like has some reason they came on this planet. This divine being like chose to come here on this earth at this time, right? And we've all decided to do this thing together because we know that this embodiment work is the next thing that needs to happen. We have to do it in community because the community is our extended body, right? It's like the ecosystem of our bodies. It's bodies and bodies and bodies, right? And when these bodies and spirits are, like in alignment, when they're attuned to themselves, right, in this body and the collective body, that's when magic happens. So like you're saying, like the magic is going to be completely different for every person because that's how magic works.
We're going to call on what we need. And you talked, it is an ecosystem. It's almost like we are rewiring our bodies through this. See, that's the other thing, right? We've all been imprinted. Let's face it, the collective is going through a massive transition right now. And no matter whether you buy into it, but those of us, like you said, who are, heart-led entrepreneurs, conscious entrepreneurs, soulpreneurs, whatever your term for it, we are here to, let's say, like, even for me, I didn't become certified as a life coach because I needed to be certified as a life coach. I got certified because I wanted to go to school to learn to do what I already do innately better. That was the point. So for those of us who've even been in that space for the longest time, we kind of know that the paradigms are changing, that the paradigms are shifting, and we are being asked to show up. I will say this, we are definitely being asked to show up. You pointed to this. We are being asked to show up in the space of community, of communion, of collaboration, and high order communication, high vibration communication, in order to fulfill our dharma, our soul mission, as I would call it. So another shift that another little big piece I would love to bring into awareness here, especially again back in this reality, in our human realities, we are used to working in hierarchical structures. That is shifting. We are shifting into what I will call, the word is synarchy. and you talked about sovereignty. Synarchy is when sovereigns come together and they plug and play. And if you ever did computer programming back in the 90s, you know, OOPS, object-oriented modular programming. It's kind of like that. It is. It's funny. It's like I keep going, this is very much like the Matrix. You know, there are shades in a way, you know, in a good way, right? Like none of us is being hooked up to machines to be energy, but we are coming into that space of as each of us becomes sovereign. And what does sovereign mean? It means self-governance. We make our own choices and we take responsibility for those choices. Period. End of story. That's what it means. As we show up as sovereigns, then we can all plug and play as needed into these little webs, into these little you know, whatever we're building, these fractals, whatever our term for is, and we'll be there. We know that contribute at that highest level. We see that whatever it is emerge, and then maybe we move on, maybe we stay for as long as we do. But it's this beautiful, like weaving in and out of different synarchical people all coming together and building amazing, exciting, magical things.
It is. It's so exciting. I love it. You're kind of like Muppet flailing because this people is how we change the world. Like this is how it changed. It doesn't change because like we're going out and doing this grand thing, although that happens too, but it's who we are being, right? And it's the systems and the structures that are changing because of who we are being and who we are being together. I cannot stress this enough. And, you know, like we've been on this path for a long time, but even if you're like, oh no, but I'm new to this, it's like, great, get on your soul sovereignty now in your healing path. Like you don't have to spend decades like we did, right? Doing like all the different things, right? Become soul sovereign and on your own healing path, you know, and then because like we're breaking away from that paradigm of like the expert or even like, you know, we're both coaches, but like true coaching is allowing the person to make their own discoveries, right? And to know the path that's exactly right for them and to do the actions that are going to, you know, like move them down the path in the most efficient way. And so it's really about, you know, really tuning into yourself, being able to do that in incredible, like we have such an incredible community in our space, right? Holding and championing and supporting and witnessing each other, you know, and like Vidya was saying, this is the way that everything changes. And this is why, back to, we'll go full circle and like pretty much end this right here, right? Is why you said it was so important, that name that was gifted to me, you know, it was by my ancestors in spirit, was be the embodiment of wealth, because, you know, money, wealth, such a complicated thing, right? But that is what is needed. That's what's needed for our communities, for our synarchy, right? It's called. We also have to be able to steward and move through the resources, right, that are going to allow the things that we are dreaming into being in order to happen, right? So it's all really connected, but it comes down to this really, like you were saying, it's this spiritual space. It's also incredibly human. We're also doing like a lot of practical things with our finances in here, right? Because we're getting our spirits, like the spiritual selves, on board with being in our school, right? And we're getting our earthly selves really like honed in, really coherent,
Yeah.
right, with what our spirit wants.
Coherence, yes. Coherence, convergence, I think that's really where we're going. And absolutely practical stuff. We're coming up against, like for me personally, oh my God, those money dates and the spreadsheets are still not happening. It's still work in progress. And I think that's the understanding as well, that there will be areas of our life where we are solid state, you know, we're the solid state computer in that space. But in other areas, we might still be the old mechanical thing. Like for me, the spreadsheets and the money part, you know, the stewards. And yet at the same time, this is the magic that happened. Look, she opened this container. I got guided to it. Then she needed someone to go live on her, talk about the container. She called me in just as I called her in. And that's the magic when we open ourselves to this work, because it is inner, it is outer, it is spiritual and mental and consciousness and all of that. And it is practical and everyday. It's all of it. And we are becoming whole. This is a journey of self-actualization. So I am going to, with Lobsterbird's permission, I'm going to throw a little bit of a caveat here. I will also say this is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the faint of heart. And I'm just going to put that out on the table. Be ready for this work, because it will require you to, you know, because when we do that inner work, and in all ways, even if we are doing practical, like, you got to go sit with a spreadsheet, and Vidya has to strip down and get naked and vulnerable with herself and go, oh, shoot, this is not something that lights me up. What can I do? How do I integrate this? And it can be something as simple as go hire a bookkeeper. It doesn't have to be huge. Again, it doesn't have to be, I have to do it all myself either. It's simply about recognizing this is not a place of joy. How can I delegate this synarchy? How can I plug and play with someone practically so that I free up my energy for my joy? We have to be ready to face up to that demon voice that's telling you, no, you got to be the one to do it. And it's flagellating you with that whip and say, no, I don't. So keep that in mind. Yes, even if you're not a beginner, I'll guarantee you that you will come up against some stuff. I'm not a beginner, and we have to be ready for it. And if you are a beginner, you will find a community that will celebrate you, that will support you, that will guide you, that will get you going on your way if you reach out and ask for help, because we all have free will. Nobody will cross that boundary until you reach out and ask. And trust me, we've learned that. We are learning that in this container as well, I would say. We are all learning to reach out and ask for the help we need, whatever that might be. It might be send me good juju on one day. It might be a practical, hey, like I asked, does anyone know a rad bookkeeper? Because this is not my joy. It can be anything. But that's the point of this community. It's a safe space. It's a sacred space. It's a synarchical space. It's a synergistic space where you can experience coherence and convergence at your pace, at your availability. It's your journey.
Yeah. I love it so much. And just to like summarize what you said, that was such a great specific example about you and the spreadsheets and that whole journey. And then like once you realized what you needed, you came in and asked about a bookkeeper, and it's like, okay, here's 3 options. They're all like neurodivergent, like aligned. They're all like people, like it's not just like some old white dude that like you don't want to hang out with, right? It's like, oh, all I had to do was ask, right? And now I have like a bunch of options of someone like who I genuinely want to spend my time with, to keep my books, and who's going to help me develop a system, right, so that I can do it. So that's such a great tangible example. Thank you. And then like you were saying, there's like so many other ways. And by the way, part of wealth building is being able to ask for what we want and need and receive it. So like, yeah, that's like,
it's clarity too.
Yeah.
You'll receive that clarity on what it is you need once you're able to say, okay, this is resistance. Can I push back? Not so much push past it. This is me. What do I really want here? And I realized what I really wanted is a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Right.
And what?
Oh, hey, that requires money, and that might be another point of resistance. To, you know, a point. That is the point, because we work through all of this. We are creating that magic. We are actually creating wealth containers, even if it doesn't look like that.
Yeah. And so this is the journey, and Vidya and I could talk about this forever, which we do inside the Embodiment of Wealth. And so, you know, if you are in that place right now where you're like, yes, I understand everything you're saying, or I feel this on a visceral level, right? If you're getting that soul ping, you know, like Vidya did, if you pull your cards right now and ask if this is the thing you need to do, because I promise you, like, I'm not just saying this like other people are saying this, like I created this, one in part with like the guidance of my spirit ancestors, but in the other part because I didn't see anyone doing this. There was no one doing this, right? And so like if you want to make more money, like all those things, if you want your finances to be organized instead of chaotic, you know, if you want to like not stress out at tax time, like all of those human things too, then come and join us, and just know that your spirit and your soul are going to be so held and so expanded. And like Vidya was saying, if you come to it like ready to transform, 100% you will. So yeah, I look forward to your continued transformation, and mine, and our communities, and anyone who hops in. And I'll put, by the way, I'll just put the link below in the comments, so click on it, get in there now. One more thing I just want to say is that it is on the flash sale until August 12th at 8:08 p.m. and then it won't, and this is the least amount it's ever going to be ever again. And we're doing this for the next 3 years plus this one, so 4 years. And every time someone does it, they get to come and do it again and again and again, right? So you're basically like, my partner was like, I can't believe it's this inexpensive. Like that's 4 years. It's $55.50 per year. So anyway, that information is below.
Fantastic. And I will say this, if you're an old white dude watching it, we mean no offense.
Yeah, of course. But
No,
also like, come on, make some space for us. I'm brown and queer and like whatever.
maybe you're an old white dude who's ready for this journey. So come on.
Yeah, I love it. Bring it on. All right, Vidya, thank you so much for your glorious energy and all that you are. And I look forward to seeing you all in the Bye.
Bye.